There's always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Yes, it is, and welcome to it on a Monday. Glad to have you here live from the shadow of Detroit in the heart of America. Kicking off another brand new day here at the Steve Gruber Show from the foxhole of freedom. It always makes me ask, who do you want in your foxhole? Good to have you on board. A lot of work to do here today, so let's get started. Number one, far-left Congressman Eric Swalwell says if Democrats running for president in 2028 do not vow to tear down the new 90,000-square-foot ballroom being built at the White House, they're not qualified to run for president. Wow, what an idiot. Number two, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says we have reached the framework of a deal with China on trade agreements that could scale back tariffs and inject adrenaline into the veins of the economy that's already moving pretty good. And number three, first of all, we're going to take a live feed right now. President Donald Trump is moving in Kuala Lumpur. He's going to be making some statements today. If we get to the president, he's there making some high-level trade deals, okay? And if he steps to the microphone, which we expect him to do here in the next little while, we're going to take that live for you here. It's very historic. Here, let me give you some background on this at the moment. He made a deal and a conversation with the president of Brazil yesterday, and there's the president on his way to the beast. And he'll be making some comments today with the Emperor of Japan, okay? So he met with the president of Brazil. Meanwhile, overnight, this is a big headline, this is important. A lot of Democrats screaming about this, but this is important because as we see President Trump moving around the globe and making deals, Javier Milei in Argentina yesterday, there were, I'll call them midterm elections for lack of a better term, but midterm elections happened in Argentina yesterday. He won decisive victories, did Javier Milei, after a $40 billion injection from the United States. The Democrats have been yelling about this. I would say a great investment. China's tentacles have been deep into Argentina. And yesterday, Milei picked up almost 30 seats in the lower house, from 37 to 64 seats now, making him much more powerful, meaning Argentina is back in the fold here in the Western Hemisphere as we watch the beast roll away from the hotel where Donald Trump has been staying on his way to meet with the Emperor of Japan. We'll pick that back up as we have him get to the microphone. We expect that to happen in the next little while. It could happen during this hour of the program, and if it does, we will take that live here on all of our networks, Real America's Voice, MTN, and across the platforms, because important things are happening. And you've got that. Another big development from yesterday I want to share with you before we get into another conversation here, and that is one of Donald Trump's loudest critics has been the Washington Post for years. Yesterday, in an editorial from the editorial board of the Washington Post, they came out in favor of his 90,000-square-foot ballroom, saying it's a great idea. America has needed it for years. And the idea that Eric Swalwell would say, you have to tear it down. If you're running as a Democrat for president, you have to say that you'll take a wrecking ball to something America's had a need for years. Did you know that when we have state dinners, it's held in tents? They put tents and heaters and hard floors out on the South Lawn. It's incredibly expensive. It's not reflective of the nation we are. In fact, I find it kind of embarrassing. So that's where we are today. A lot of things happening. We'll keep an eye on where President Trump is, but I start here today. I want to take you inside a conversation I had with a friend of mine just last week, or maybe a former friend now. We'll see what happens, because I think it perfectly represents the arguments I'm seeing made on the internet every day. When people don't look at the whole picture and think we should be ashamed of who we voted for. When it comes to President Trump, I'm going to tell you, I'm not ashamed of who I voted for. My friend, who shall remain anonymous, called me deaf and blind for not throwing the Trump administration, specifically the president, under the bus over tariffs that affect farmers, SNAP families losing out on benefits during this government shutdown, changes to the Affordable Care Act, and President Trump's decision to build this ballroom that I just discussed. I can assure you I'm not deaf or blind, actually. It feels like I'm the only one seeing the big picture most of the time. Let's start with the assertion he made about farmers getting screwed in his comments to me by Trump's bad tariffs affecting agriculture, and specifically soybeans, that China is not buying and have not bought since May. Soybean prices are actually higher than they were last fall. Not much, but little. Seems like my friend missed the memo. In fact, I'm sure a lot of Democrats did. In fact, the 52-week low on prices for soybeans came in December of 2024 when who was in office? Joe Biden. Here are the numbers. Soybean futures closed around $10.42 per bushel on October the 24th, up about 3% from the prior month and roughly 5 to 6% higher than October of 2024 when prices hovered near $9.85 per bushel. Right? As part of my daily programs, I hear the Ag Report here every day. I keep up on what's happening with farmers quite closely, actually. I've been around them my whole life. And based on what my friend was saying, it doesn't seem like he does, which sadly is not unique. Many of the loudest critics of Donald Trump don't seem to read or pay attention at all to important things they claim to care about and know about. And I'm not sure how many soybean farmers you know personally, but I know several. This past week alone, I spoke to soybean farmers in Michigan and Arkansas. They both told me the same thing. Soybean sales are fine, and new markets like biodiesel and Japan are opening up rapidly, and that's good news. They're making a little bit more money than last fall. Not much, but a scant more. And every one of them is cheering, by the way, what Trump is doing because he is opening up more options so they are not beholden to China every year. You can't have China holding a gun to your head. Every farmer I've spoken to this year wants to be less reliant on the whims of the CCP. In fact, they would be happy never selling to China again. That's what they all said. America's trade deals needed to be overhauled. But of course, it comes with bumps in the road. But Trump's track record is a strong one on trade. And by the way, here's what he expects in the days to come as he continues to negotiate. Listen.
They're paying tremendous amounts of money to us as in the form of tariffs. As you know, they're paying 55%. That's a lot of money. They never were paying anything over years and years and years. But they were like anybody else. A lot of countries took advantage of the U.S. They're not taking advantage anymore. No, China's paying 55% and a potential 155% come November 1st unless we make a deal. And I'm meeting with President Xi. We have a very good relationship. We're going to be meeting in South Korea in a couple of weeks. And we'll see what we can do. We have a very good relationship with China, but, you know, it's been probably a little bit like your relationship with China. They try and take advantage, but most countries do. I mean, I can say the European Union took advantage, but not anymore. We worked out a very fair trade deal. Japan, we worked out a very fair deal. South Korea, where I'll be meeting President Xi, we worked out a very fair deal. And I expect we'll probably work out a very fair deal with President Xi of China.
There you go. Okay, so let's move on. How about SNAP benefits? Let's be clear. They could be in place today if not for the minority party in Congress having a tantrum. Democrats have now voted at least 12 times to keep the government closed. It takes 60 votes in the Senate to make that happen, but Chuck Schumer is on tape saying about the shutdown, it gets better for us every day. Not sure who the us is, apparently him and the Democrats. Trump isn't much of a king when the minority party can make outlandish demands and then refuse funding the government when those demands are not met. They voted yes 13 times previously, but now think they can get a political advantage by keeping food away from the poor. Number 3 Democrat in the House, Katherine Clark, said suffering for American families is just leverage for the Democrats. We'll talk more about this after the break. Again, we're watching for Donald Trump to come out to the microphone in Kuala Lumpur. That's in Malaysia, for those of you keeping score at home. Good morning. Welcome to the Steve Gruber Show. Oh, boy. All right, here we go back into it. Catherine Clark, I think she's the number 3 Democrat, part of the leadership in the House for the Democrats. Again, she says if Americans suffer, it's leverage for the Democrats. I mean, she's almost gleeful about it. Here she is.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leverage times we have.
Oh, they're going to suffer, but we get leverage. You see, she and her colleagues, they don't care about poor people. They never have. They care about one thing, my friends, power over you. And just a couple days ago, in their latest move against ordinary hardworking Americans, Chuck Schumer and his minions rejected a bill. Listen to this. They rejected a bill that would have guaranteed people in the military, TSA, and air traffic controllers, among others, would actually get paychecks. They said no. And Democrats blamed Trump? Seems a bit odd, which brings me to the ACA or Obamacare. My friend, in this letter he wrote to me, points out that as a self-employed worker, his rates have gone up. Well, I am self-employed too, and my rates and Ivy's rates have skyrocketed for years. In fact, our rates went up double digits every year Biden was in the White House. Double digits every year. I'm sure the same was true for him, and probably for you too. This is not President Trump's fault. It is a direct result of the very predictable failure of Obamacare. It was never about affordability or care. It was about paving a path to a single-payer health care system through an insurance scheme. I was among those from day one saying it was not sustainable, could never work, and was going to fail. And guess what? I was right. So were many other people. And despite that, Republicans have already offered to extend the subsidies, as dumb as they are, for another year. And those offers have been rejected too, and the shutdown continues. You can thank Chuck Schumer for that, period. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt hits the nail squarely on the head right here.
I'll just point out the irony in Democrats holding the government and the American public hostage over a healthcare system that they created. The healthcare system was called Obamacare. Why? Because Democrats and President Obama implemented. And Republicans have always said it's a broken system, yes, but they caused it, and now they want to shut down the government to fix it. We need to open the government, and then we can have these very important conversations about health care.
Yeah, there you go. And my friend says that the claim that all liberals care about is illegals, he says that's bull. It's a common refrain these days. Well, just yesterday I saw this headline on several outlets. Illinois, this is the headline. Illinois spent more on health care for illegal immigrants than roads, foster kids, elderly, and the arts combined. Combined. So maybe my friend is right. Not all liberals, but a whole lot of them. Enough to make that big of an impact in Illinois in its budget. All the while they're in Illinois, they ignore the thousands of people being shot and hundreds killed just in Chicago alone, while calling Trump's efforts to stem crime in major cities as tyrannical. Weird, huh? As for President Trump's renovations on the White House, the complaint was that Trump lied about his plans for the East Wing. Okay, I'll admit, I went back and looked. He did say at one time, without much clarity, something to that effect that he wasn't going to tear down the entire East Wing. Well, he did. Okay, a politician lied. Oh, a politician lied. It's like being shocked you saw people drinking beer in a bar. Oh, I walked into a bar, people are drinking. No kidding. But I see how that can, really piss some people off. I got it. But how about we compare that one comment about the East Wing, where he's building an elegant 90,000 square foot ballroom, to the 37 times on tape, where Barack Obama told everyone, you can keep your doctor, you can keep your plan, 37 times. But I guess it's time to blame somebody else when that scheme fails as predicted. And what's worse, lying about a renovation to the White House or to millions of people about their health care? You decide. Of course, the Democrats and their media lackeys are trying to shove this made-up scandal down everyone's throats, while my friends with kids in the National Guard are going without paycheck after paycheck, thanks to Democrats. Back to health care for a moment. What President Trump has done on health care this year is generate deals with Big Pharma to lower prescription drug prices. In fact, it was such a monumental deal that Mark Cuban, an open Trump hater, has come to the table with his drug company to get involved and partner with this administration to the tune of billions, tens of billions of dollars. Listen.
We'll work with Trump RX. I mean, it's incredible. It's stupendous. It's like the most incredible program ever. And so we're excited to offer them our API so that they'll be able to download our daily prices. So when they go down, everybody benefits. Plus, I like what they're doing with the MFNs because, as I mentioned in my comments, our brand drugs are more expensive because PBMs are involved. And with Trump RX and the MFN program, that allows manufacturers to work around the PBMs and work directly to patients. So I think it'll save seniors, it'll save everybody a lot of money.
Yeah. This will save Americans billions and billions of dollars starting right now. Sometimes good ideas transcend politics and political parties, but you would never know it by looking at the social media feeds on the left. Now, let me address the personal attacks that were leveled at me by my friend. I'm apparently deaf and blind because I have a different opinion about politics than he does, or his enlightened circle of friends, apparently. Really? I'm also apparently no longer an honest and good reporter because I have a different take on critical issues facing this country. Nice. And my personal favorite, I think, was this line. So you can take that and Trump that in your a-hole. I think he missed something there. I mean, I think a little typo there. I think he meant to say that I could stick it in my, but I don't want to jump to conclusions. I mean, friends wouldn't do that or say that, right? I'm not going to lower myself to such personal attacks. I'll tell you in detail what I like about President Trump's accomplishments. Closing the border, yep, check. Cleaning up our crime and tortured cities, yeah, check. That's good stuff. Turning the war on drugs into a real war by targeting the cartels, yeah, good stuff. I support that. Working to stop wars in the far corners of the world, yes, I support that. A place I hadn't even heard of. I agree with his hard-nosed approach to President Xi in China. That should bear fruit by the end of this week. More good news. Keeping men out of women's sports, common sense. I like that. And yes, I like the idea of a 90,000 square foot ballroom. Not because I'll get a chance to go there, I will, but because it makes sense. God bless America. And thank you, Donald Trump, for doing a lot of very good things despite being attacked and vilified by the media and my friends every single day. I'll be back in a moment watching for Donald Trump to come out live in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We'll take it when he does. Back after this. All right, so next week there'll be people going to the polls in Virginia and New Jersey to select new governors. And then in Maine, wow, have you heard about this guy? Graham Plattner is a Democrat who since 2012 has had this giant Nazi symbol tattoo on his chest, right? News came out on the 22nd of October about this giant tattoo that he had on his chest since 2007. His staff says since at least 2012, he knew it was a Nazi tattoo. So on the 22nd of October, it goes public. On the 23rd of October, he has some other tattoo put over to cover it up and say, oh, I just didn't know. Yeah, he knew. So the Democrats in Maine still supporting this guy. He had a 30-point lead. Now, one new poll shows the governor coming out, and she has started a campaign, and maybe she can take the lead. But at least 30% of the people asked, even after the revelation, the Democrat candidate for Senate had a Nazi tattoo, they still supported him. 30% still support this guy, knowing that he had a giant Nazi tattoo on his chest. Hello, Democrats. How dishonest can you be? I just throw it out there for your consideration. This part of the program brought to you by my good friends at The Wellness Company. The Wellness Company has the best supplements that you can get. The Wellness Company has ivermectin tablets. You know, and if that medicine helps save your life, would you want it on hand? Of course you would. 58% of the world's ivermectin supply comes from China. Surprised? I'm not. 75% from Asia overall. But the Wellness Company isn't waiting around. They've introduced American-made ivermectin, safe, trusted, produced right here in the United States of America. It's been prescribed globally for more than 30 years, even earned the Nobel Prize in Medicine for its proven ability to eliminate parasites and support overall health. New research also points to potential benefits for skin, your immune system, and cancer support. Yeah, most places charge $5 a tablet, but not at the Wellness Company. You can get it cheaper. Here's how you do it. twc.health/Gruber. twc.health/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. Save $30, and you'll get free shipping as well. twc.health/Gruber. Ivermectin on the shelf whenever you decide you want it. All right? Not some insurance company. We'll take a break and be right back. Welcome back to the program. You know, we've watched California kind of slide into oblivion in many ways. We see them brag about how great they are, and yet you see the destruction in their cities. You see the problems that they have with homelessness and drug abuse and the flood of illegal aliens and the problems that creates. Somebody who sits right at the front of that to watch it and to report on it is Kim Yater, host of the Take Your Power Back program and Peak Performance Master Coach. And they're holding a big event for Take Your Power Back where all the Republicans, except maybe one, are getting together to discuss being the next governor of California. If they could do that, wouldn't that be remarkable? Kim, welcome to the program.
Steve, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. We're taking California back.
Well, I hope you do, because look, California is a great place. I was out in Napa here last year, just loved it. It's a beautiful state, so many great things to offer, some of the best agricultural in the world, some of the best places in the world, and yet the rot of socialism is just chewing away at the foundation day after day. It's insidious, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, it's so well said. It's funny because, it reminds me of a story of an avocado ranch with trees everywhere flourishing, but they got rot. And when that rot took place, we couldn't do anything with the avocado trees, right? Done. Well, that's what's happening to California right now with the Marxist ideology, the elites doing their power plays. And we're saying no more. We are taking our power back. Local action equals national impact, just like General Flynn says. And we've created the Take Your Power Back California Governor Showdown.
Yeah.
This just isn't any showdown, Steve. This is about these guys activated, using their platforms, working together to take this state back.
I wrote back, all the way back in 2012, I wrote a column about California, stealing not just from California residents, but from all of us. Because my math back then told me that California had 7 members of Congress it was not entitled to because they were counting illegal aliens after the 2010 census. 7 members of Congress, by my math, averaging 750,000 people per congressional district in this country. I think it's worse than that now. California has undue political power because they cheat the rest of us, not just your citizens. They cheat the rest of us, don't they?
Yes. Yeah, they cheat, they lie, they steal. This is the Marxist ideology. That's exactly what they do. And it's funny, I was scrolling through Instagram this morning and they are coming out hardcore right now. And they're basically telling you that they're going to do whatever it's going to take. That if the census does not come back with a certain amount of people, which of course they're including those illegal immigrants, then they're going to stop the election. So they will do whatever it takes to take this state down. And I'll tell you, how California goes, the nation will go.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Prop 50 here. It's going to be close, but right now it looks like Prop 50 would pass, and the election commission that draws your congressional districts will get an end run on it. They're just going to burn that down, too, on the way through. But here's the problem that Governor Newsom's going to face. The Supreme Court is going to rule in favor of Louisiana and saying that you cannot use race in creating congressional districts. That'll give the Republicans 12 seats. And then you've got people in North Carolina, in Ohio, in Indiana, and in Missouri and elsewhere that are going to add seats. And if you take 12, you end up with 21 seats. That's even after Texas and California kind of cancel each other out. 21 new seats in Congress because the Republicans are like, stop doing this. And it's a reaction to California. I think Newsom's going to get burned on that deal. What do you think?
Well, I think there's definitely fire occurring.
Yeah.
And I hope he does get burned on that deal. Listen, we got to give him a taste of his own medicine. And we've got to do whatever it takes to take the state back. And it means that the people, this is our home, Steve.
Yeah.
We have the opportunity to stand in the gap and to take our power back on that very local level. And if we show up and we vote, and honestly, we got to go back to voter ID, one-day voting, hand count, paper ballot. That's what we need to do to take our power back, because the reality is this: the elections are still stolen. So if we do not come up with a very clear plan utilizing this platform, which we are doing with a Take Your Power Back California Governor Showdown, then we're gone, and we will not allow that. We're going to work together to take our California back.
I look at this, I think Newsom gets burned, but look, all he wants is to be president. I mean, there's no hiding it, of course. That's all he wants. He has a political lust. He has a lust to be behind the Resolute desk. I think it would be a disaster for America if that happens. Of course, we see what's happening in New York City. The socialists, and let's be honest, they're communists, are taking over major cities in America. We have to stop this, Kim. The answer is no, 100%. Hell no, we're not going to stand for it, right?
Yeah, it's vital. We need to pay close attention to what's happening in New York right now, and we have got to stand up and fight back because if we don't go to the polls and vote no with what Mandani, I'm telling you, we got to choose the better choice because we will be in Sharia law once they take over. I'm telling you, there's no going back. We already know that there are cells, over 1,000 cells here in this country that are ready to be activated. So we better get ourselves together and start standing up as freedom loving Americans to take this country back. It's going to start in New York, it's going to start in California. And for your audience that's listening, right where you're planted now, get involved, get off the fence. We've got to take a stand, show up, and speak up to take our state and our country back.
Yeah, absolutely. And the foundational principle that's under attack, and I've said this to a number of people for the last 15 years, is freedom of speech. And the Democrats sit there and say, well, Donald Trump's taking your freedom of speech. No, he's not. But you can look what's happening in Germany, France, the UK, Canada, just to the north. You can get thrown in jail for what you post on Facebook or Twitter. Give me a break here. And if you don't think that can happen in America, you're fooling yourself, wouldn't you say?
Well, look, I'll tell you what, it's kind of funny. You know, I have been censored from LinkedIn. I have been canceled from YouTube, many times in Facebook jail, right? Not times X before, our good friend Elon was back. But yeah, we're not far off. The reality is we will be just like China,
Ugh.
where we can't even get on the subway, right? If we've had some kind of behavior that they don't qualify as good behavior.
Right.
And so we've got to take our power back in that arena and say no to this leftist ideology.
All right, so the big event, Take Your Power Back,
Yes.
California Governor Showdown. How many candidates are you going to have there?
We have 13 candidates. We have every single one of the conservative gubernatorial candidates except one.
And that's happening on November the 8th. It's a Saturday. It's at the Awakened Church in San Marcos. Look, you're right there in San Diego. We've got about 45 seconds left here. What kind of changes have you seen there in San Diego in the time you've lived there when it comes to the open border, when it comes to the crime, when it comes to the problems? What kind of changes?
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, I'm just going to start up with human trafficking.
Yeah.
You're seeing these kids come over the border with somebody who is not their parent. We've seen hotels completely filled with illegal immigrants. Of course, the Home Depots. I mean, here's the reality. They've infiltrated in society from being part of soccer teams, football teams. Now they're so integrated in society that they've become friends. So it's a little tough what's happening, but we got to clean house.
Got to clean house. TakeOurCaliforniaBack.com for those of you watching and listening here today. TakeOurCaliforniaBack.com. You can find out more. You can go out there November the 8th. It's a big event. It's the Take Your Power Back California Governor Showdown. Kim Yater will be your host and moderator. Kim, thank you so much for being here.
Steve, thank you. An absolute honor. And hopefully I'll see you there.
I look forward to it. All right, TakeOurCaliforniaBack.com. Go check it out. I urge you. She's right. If we can save California, we can continue to save America. I'll take a break and be right back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Welcome back to the program. You've heard me talking here over the last few days. Ivy and I are embarking on this new intense training regimen. 3 times a week, we'll work out real hard at the gym. 5 times, we're going to do cardio training. We're going to get our bodies whooped into shape. But you don't want to lose bone mass. You don't want to lose muscle mass. That's why we have partnered with this great new company, new partner of ours, Longevity. At Longevity, the mission is simple: to extend and enrich lives through nutrition rooted in real science and real care. Ivy did the research, so I trust her. She said it's a good product. Joe Reek is joining me. He is the Vice President of Sales at Longevity. Joe, nice to see you this morning.
Hey, good morning, Steve. It's happy to be here with you guys again.
Look, we've been trying this product for the last several weeks. Our son who goes to football uses it. We're using it to make sure we don't lose that muscle and bone mass. It's also good for people who are taking GLP-1s or any weight loss program. You don't want to lose that mass in your body. And so you've got all of these different things that are great in Longevity. Tell us about the product. Why did you create it? What does it offer?
Well, Longevity is your all-in-one nutritional supplement. Not only is it going to provide you with the calories, but it's going to give you 25 grams of protein.
Yep.
It's going to give you 16 grams of collagen. And collagen is all the rage right now because collagen is so good for your hair, your skin, your nails. Also, collagen is really good for tendon and joint repair as well as wound care. We've also included probiotics for advanced gut health. We've included bovine colostrum for immunity support. And the best thing inside of Longevity is going to be the DHA and the omega-3 oils for brain health. In fact, it's been studied. DHA is the item that you're typically found in like infant formulas to help help babies develop. And we found that through studies, scientists found that DHA for seniors actually helps prevent the onset of dementia and Alzheimer's. So there's a whole bunch of different items inside of Longevity, all combined in one great tasting, easy to make drink mix. It comes in strawberry, it comes in chocolate, as well as vanilla.
Yep. It is the best all-in-one protein and collagen drink, and it's for all ages. Like I said, we have a young son. He's 13. He's intensely in sports. He's taking it. People my age, to make sure we don't lose that mass of bone and muscle. And for people that are older, people that are seniors, want to make sure they're getting the right nutrition like we've talked about here. It's really, really important. So it covers all ages, and it tastes great. It really does. We do a thing here. We put milk and ice in it, put it in one of these little bullets, blast it up, and it's like a chocolate shake. It's great, and it's really helping all of us in the house. Joe, it's a great product, and you've put it out there to make sure people can live their best lives.
You know, we did. In fact, for the past year and a half, this has only been available through nursing centers and hospitals. But we got so much feedback from all the staff, from the nurses saying, where can I get it for myself? And, you know, we finally made it available direct to consumer. It's available at longevitywellness.co/Gruber. And in fact, the thing that I love about Longevity Wellness is that it's so easy to mix up. So I have a little bottle of water right here and just one of our single serve bottles. You crack it open, you add your water to it. And unlike a lot of your other protein powders, you got to sit there and shake it over and over and over. See, I just put the water up there to the fill line. I'm going to close this lid on there, Steve. A couple of shakes, and look, and it is all ready to go. The powder's mixed up, and it's ready to drink. And so you can quickly start your day by adding your water to it. Like you said, you can put it inside of a milk, add it to your smoothie, put it with your milk, get it to go, and you're ready to walk out the door getting all of the nutrition that you need. Easy to go.
So different delivery systems are great. I get the bags like the one behind you there, Joe, because we have so many people in the house using it. We just use that bullet. We put it together. Like I said, 13, however old I am, I'm not going to tell you. And for older folks, too, it's the perfect product. And look, trying to stay healthy is a difficult thing. One of your partners had somebody in their family that had renal failure. And this product really was the go-to, wasn't it?
You know, it was. In fact, one of the founders, in fact, the guy who invented Longevity, his mom was diagnosed with renal failure, and she was given about a 6-month prognosis. And while the care that she received was great, the doctors, the nurses, the staff were great, he noticed that she wasn't getting what her body needed. And him being a food scientist came up with the first iteration of Longevity. And he kind of used his mom as a guinea pig every single day, putting a little bit of Longevity inside of her drink, giving it to her, and kind of watching what happened. And what did they notice was they were able to get an additional 3 years of life from that.
Yeah, and like you said,
Longevity.
It's been available, distributed by Cisco, all across the country to senior care centers and other places. Now it's available to the general public because of demand. People said, look, I want this product for myself, for my kids, for my loved ones. That's what happened, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it just makes your life easier. So you don't have to take different supplements every single day. This is your all in one nutritional drink mix. What I love about this too, it comes in a large 20 serving bag, so you can easily scoop it out if you need to. It also comes in these single serving bottles. So if you're on the go, you're able to grab that and just add it to whatever you want, add it with water, add it with milk. But inside of longevity, you're getting nutrition. For example, in our mineral blend, you're going to get things like broccoli, spinach, kale, sunflower, maitake mushroom, sweet potato, pumpkin, shiitake mushrooms. It's a very, very clean product. So there's no harmful seed oils, kind of what is in most protein drinks. You're going to have
Right.
that harmful seed oils inside of it. So it doesn't cause that inflammation that we see. It's
Yeah.
just a very, very well designed product, and we want to have everybody have it.
It's one of those things, Ivy, if she sees those oils, she'll say, yeah, this product. She'll check it. Nope. She looked at your product. She did the research. She said, yeah, this product is going to be good for us. We use it. Our kid uses it. And I think everybody should use it. I want people to have a chance to find this. You can find it at longevitywellness.co/Gruber. You can find out more about longevity. Look, as you know, guys, I only promote products that we use in our own home. Longevity is one of those products. Joe Reek and his team have put together a terrific product. Longevitywellness.co/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber, and we're going to get you a little bit better deal. Joe, real quickly, 15 seconds. Last word to you.
Hey, life is busy. Life is hectic. Simplify your life. Get the nutrition that you need. If you're on a GLP-1, if you're on a semaglutide, if you're trying to get healthy, trying to lose weight, longevity is the product for you.
There you have it. Joe Reek, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
My pleasure, Steve. You guys be safe.
There you have it. Longevitywellness.co/Gruber, promo code Gruber, or right there on your screen, there's a QR code. Click on that with your smartphone. You'll get to where you need to be. Again, we only talk about products and only endorse products we use in our own home, Ivy and I. This is one of them. Longevitywellness.co/Gruber. Promo code's Gruber. QR code is there. Get well, get better. Longevity. We'll be right back. Back to it now as we jump back in. All right, so looking at some of the numbers here. Gas prices, my gosh, are they coming down? Gold taking a bit of a dive. Not too bad, staying above 4,000. But it is down to just above 4,000. We'll see where that ends up. But gas prices down to 305 average. The cheapest average gas price in America today, $2.58 in Mississippi, cheaper in a lot of places. I had somebody send me a note from a Costco here in Michigan a couple of days ago. $2.42 was the gas price, which means inflation is easing. And so here is where we are. According to Scott Bessent, the Secretary of the Treasury, the United States has reached a framework agreement with China on imports. So that's really important, all right? That's really important that they get a deal with China, because if that happens, it'll basically put the economy on steroids, I think. Right now, let's see where we are with the markets. Let's see. Market futures. This AI stuff is really helpful when we do these sorts of things. Market futures, let's see here. Pre-market trading, let's see what the stock market is going to do today. It's going to be up big today. It might hit 48,000 today for the first time, set a new record. It'll be at 47.7, according. So, I mean, it's all good news, folks. It is. It really is all good news. By the way, good news is that we have great coffee here. There it is. This cup is filled with 1775 coffee every day. It's great coffee. It's single-sourced. It is terrific. It is the way coffee's supposed to be. It's, brewed for patriots, 1775 coffee. The great news is single-source, high-altitude Bolivian beans, hand-picked at peak ripeness. There it is, all for you, right? Find out more, 1775coffee.com. Use the promo code Gruber. You're going to save some money today on the coffee, and you're going to have the great coffee we have. By the way, we're going to have the coffee cups for you. We've got hoodies. We've got wicking shirts. We've got all sorts of great merchandise that says Gruber all over it. Yeah, you're going to love that. Coming up soon, all right? Merch from Gruber. You're going to love it. 2 more big hours ahead. We will watch Donald Trump, see what he does as well. We'll be right back. There's always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Well, it sure is. I'm glad to have you here as we celebrate Teddy Roosevelt's 167th birthday, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. Glad to have you on board. Who do you want in your foxhole? Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, multiple suspects arrested over the weekend connected to the theft of over $100 million in jewels from the Louvre Museum in Paris. Maybe they'll recover those treasures. Number two, the CEO of Chevron, among those applauding President Trump's dramatic shift on energy and energy policies that he says is going to power America for decades to come. And number three, let's talk about the government shutdown, shall we? The government shutdown could end up being the longest in history. A lot of problems as a result. Democrats could open the government. They voted no, 12 times now, and then they voted not to pay the military, not to pay TSA, not to pay air traffic controllers. They did that at the end of last week. I mean, honestly, they can get these people paid, and they're simply refusing to. Quite a king we have here. That the minority party that does not control the House, the Senate, or the White House can shut down the government with outrageous demands. And if our demands aren't met, we're going to shut the government down. Republicans must negotiate. It's a clean, continuing resolution. Not much to negotiate here. Scott Bessent torched the Democrat-endorsed narrative that the shutdown is somehow Donald Trump's fault. He did it with some zip. Here it is.
So now it's all starting to make sense.
Now in the second longest shutdown in U.S. history, when will President Trump meet with Democrats to try to bring this shutdown to a close and get federal workers their paychecks back again, Mr. Secretary?
Well, Kristen, I'm going to have to reject the premise of your question. Why does President Trump have to meet with Democrats? Democrats just need to go into the Senate and vote down.
But President Trump has said in the past it's up to the president.
52.
He's the president.
No.
He said that in the past. He said you have to be a leader. The president has to lead. You have to get people into a room. You have to get a deal. When's he going to do that?
Well, he is leading, and there's no deal to do with Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer is trading off his polls. What's different than when he passed the clean CR in the spring? It's his polls. You know, the whole country's being held captive to AOC's polls. But let's look at the numbers. It's 52-3. 52 Republicans have voted, I believe it's 11 times, to reopen the government. 3 Democrats have. And right here, right now, I would urge moderate Democratic senators to come across the aisle, reopen the government, because I'll tell you, we're starting to eat into muscle here. This is starting to affect travel. It's starting to affect the economy. And, you know, this is quixotic. I don't know what the purpose is. I'm not sure they do.
I'm not sure they do either. That's a fact. Interesting. Kirsten Welker, always there, ready to trumpet the Democrat position. Apparently that's what they think is the job at NBC News. It's not, of course. It's Donald Trump's responsibility. No. It's a clean, continuing resolution to keep the government open. Democrats voting no a dozen times now. Voting no to pay air traffic controllers, the TSA, the military. They want people to suffer. And they want to suffer, make that suffering last long enough for the Republicans to get blamed for it. Now, here is a man calling out the Democrats for shutting down the government. He says it's a dirty deal with the insurance industry. I don't disagree, actually. Listen.
So now it's all starting to make sense. This government shutdown ain't got nothing to do with you having health care. But it does have to do with healthcare industries about to lose billions of dollars if these ACA subsidies don't go through. You know, kickbacks. And that's the thing when it comes to the government making moves. If you want to know the reason, all you got to do is follow the money trail. And that's exactly what your boy did. Funny thing about it, there was a few companies that stand to lose the most, and these few companies donate at least 80% to the Democratic Party. Go figure. Now, by now, most of y'all should already know this is a Democrat shutdown, not a Republican. I mean, the Republicans need 60 votes to pass that clean CR. Unfortunately, they don't have 60 Republicans. So that right there lies the problem. And this is why it's very important that we get rid of lobbyist groups out of the government. Because it seems like every time Americans get screwed over, it's because of lobbyist groups standing to lose billions of dollars.
Losing piles of money. You see, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, was never designed to take care of anybody. It was never designed to be affordable. What it was designed to do was fail. I predicted that when it was first rolled out. Remember, we have to vote for the bill to see what's in the bill. Remember that, Nancy Pelosi? Yeah. And what are Democrats doing to American families as they refuse to open the government? Well, here is an example.
Stub for an air traffic controller showing Tuesday's check will be for $0. It's why controller Jack Chris spends his days off driving DoorDash.
You're not getting a tip.
The single dad is trying to make some extra money to help cover the cost of his daughter's high school tuition.
How stressful is life right now with this shutdown?
It's been incredibly difficult. You can feel the tension, and it's heavy, and it hurts.
As the government shutdown rolls into its 25th day, Congress remains unable to make a deal.
She tipped $2.
Chris says he's tapped his retirement funds and taken out a high-interest short-term loan to make sure he has the cash to weather a long shutdown.
From the standpoint of a single working dad, how is all of this impacting life at home?
That's a great question. It's hard enough just going to work. Now when you add in not getting paid, that's when you just like multiply the level of pressure.
Yeah, that's when you multiply the level of pressure. Yeah. I mean, you can hear the pain in that guy's voice. And that's what the Democrats consider leverage. American families laying awake at night. How do I pay the rent? How do I buy groceries? Now he's sending his kid to a private school. I don't take that as any sort of an issue. He's trying hard to get his kid a better education. Can't make it, right? Can't make it. Open the government, Democrats. You have the power to do that today. Today you have the power to do that. And they refuse. They absolutely refuse. I want you to be healthy. Today, if Teddy Roosevelt had taken the right vitamins, he might still be here with us. He'd be 167 years old today. TR. Died January the 6th, 1919. Probably would have been president again, except for, well, he was dead. There is that. But if you take your vitamins, you can feel better. And if you're tired of taking vitamins that don't work, Protavite is a breakthrough liquid formula designed to absorb quickly so your body actually uses it. And when we say multivitamin, we mean it. 100 nutrients, B vitamins, amino acids, zinc, plant extracts. You get daily support for energy, focus, immune health, only from Victory Nutrition International. Remember, we only endorse companies we use. Ivy went and did the research on this company, VNI. She loves it. She takes it every day, so do I. Because she loves it, I get to take it every day. And it works great. I'm not kidding you. Start your mornings with Protavite. Feel the difference. You can get 20% off right now, 20% off, VNI.life/Gruber. The promo code is Gruber, VNI.life/Gruber. Victory Nutrition International. You can get on a subscription plan, too. You don't even have to worry about it. They'll just show up. And they are just so easy. They only have 6 products. They don't have 125 products or this and that, something for everything. They have 6 products, all scientifically backed. VNI.life/Gruber. Check it out. We'll have them back on the show soon to tell you why they are so much different than everybody. 6 products, 1 mission. There it is. VNI.life/Gruber. I'll be right back. All right, back to it as we dive into it's election season, of course. It's election season, but how honest are these elections going to be? New York City, look, they've got a lot of illegals there that have driver's licenses. They issue driver's licenses to people to drive 80,000-pound missiles down the road, better known as 18-wheelers. People that can't even read English. You've seen the deadly results of that. In Minnesota, elections confirm non-citizens can vote with their driver's licenses. And it's a problem. It is. Abshir Omar is a political strategist, former Democrat. He went from Sanders to Trump, guided by principle, not party, he says. He joins me now. Abshir, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. My pleasure, Steve.
All right, so corruption, chaos, the Minneapolis machine. Let's start there. Ilhan Omar. Fatah is the guy who's, everybody's talking about Mamdani, but Minneapolis is on the verge of electing another socialist, just a person who has no business, none whatsoever, running a major city in America, but here we are, right?
So the issue that we have right now is there is a wave of democratic socialists across the country. The biggest punch so far has been from Mamdani in New York that has been eating Curtis Sliwa and Andrew Cuomo's lunch. And the reason that's
for free,
happening
by the way,
is
free lunch. Anyhow, go on.
free lunch. Yeah. And the issue is Mamdani is speaking to the material needs of the folks in his city. The political class has been kowtowing to political interests across the country. And in the city of New York, people are very cognizant of the cost of living. Same situation here in Minneapolis, but what we're dealing with is a city that has not recovered since the George Floyd riots in the city. And I live only 2 blocks away from the 3rd precinct that is still yet unbuilt in Minneapolis. They put up a huge sign around the building saying, we're not going to rebuild the police station, but we're going to give you a democracy center that you can learn how to vote. We have a Hennepin County Elections Office already in operation for over a decade. But instead of putting another police station in the city, they're saying we're going to give you a democracy center. And as you noted before the end of the break, there's an interesting situation in Minneapolis and Minnesota where we have the driver's license for all bill that allows undocumented individuals, illegal aliens, the ability to get a driver's license.
And if they have a driver's license, they can go to the polling place, drop the driver's license. It shows their identity. Yeah. It certainly doesn't confirm citizenship, obviously.
Absolutely. And there was actually a hearing at the State House where the Secretary of State and his staff was asked that question. And they point blank admitted that that is a possibility. And I know there are commentators around the country looking at the situation saying this area is ripe for fraud. Just like Minnesota has become well known for other types of financial fraud, elections fraud is another major issue that needs to be addressed.
Well, we've heard stories. I'll go back to 2020 when I saw, social media videos of guys driving around with ballots stacked on the dash of their car, stacked right up there, bragging about it because they would go to these big high rises that only has Somalian residents, and they go in, they knock on each door, they collect and if you don't turn in your ballot, you get smacked. I mean, this is not a secret, right?
It's not a secret. James O'Keefe did a presentation with Project Veritas back in 21, and it had direct testimony of individuals involved in the organizing of the ballot harvesting. The individual that you noted in that video that had stacks of ballots in his car, recording a Snapchat video, by the way, to engage with his followers, is the brother of a current Minneapolis City Council member. In 2021, an FBI investigation was opened into that issue with the Ward 6 election with the 5th Congressional District, and including Senator Omar Fateh. But nothing has come of that FBI investigation, and we haven't heard any word as to whether it's still continuing or whether it's been closed. So there's a lot of unanswered questions in that realm here in Minnesota. As you can see, we just came off of the presidential campaign where our illustrious governor, Tim Walz, who is beyond loved in the state of Minnesota, by the way, is running this state into the ground.
Yeah.
Completely off the rails. We're well over $2 billion in financial fraud in the state of Minnesota.
Unbelievable.
$2 billion.
I mean, I saw some good news. Dominion Voting has been sold to a conservative guy who immediately basically shut the whole thing down. That's helpful in some places, but not Minneapolis. You guys still have people showing up with driver's licenses able to vote even though they have no business voting. I wrote back in 2012 that Democrats were stealing seats in Congress. 7 in California alone. I mean, it's pretty obvious to everybody who is willing to look.
Yeah, so the issue here in Minnesota is there is election integrity issues. We had a situation this last November where there was not a single conservative election judge appointed during that election.
Not
it
one.
was so bad, not one, that a lawsuit had to be filed and an injunction had to be imposed to ensure that at least one conservative election judge was monitoring the election. We recently had, about a month ago, the Department of Justice Division of Civil Rights, run by Harmeet Dillon, sent a request to the Minnesota Secretary of State to submit all elections data. And what do you think the state of Minnesota said? Absolutely not. We're not sending any data.
We're not doing it.
Our
So let me
elections
ask
are
you
secure.
this. We've got about 30 seconds here. Can it be fixed? Can it be fixed?
Well, I'll tell you this. There is a lot of changes that are going to come to Minnesota. I'll give you a little preface, but we're just concluding a 5-year investigation into fraud and corruption in the state of Minnesota, covering many different areas. And a few national reporters have been in the state covering this issue over the past 8 months. And there are going to be some very interesting revelations that come down the pike.
Well, actually, I want you to come back because I want to keep a spotlight on this. I want to keep a spotlight on this from this program, from this perch, so that we can bring attention to it. Because I think most people don't realize it, how bad Minnesota has gotten. And not Minnesota, the state, just that concentration right there in Minneapolis and St. Paul. I appreciate you being here. I got to leave it there for today, but I want you back for sure, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we all talk about California. We do, and for good reason. Minnesota has to be under the spotlight, under the magnifying glass. This has to be fixed. You can't have fraud anywhere. None. We'll be back. All right. All right, so find the words out. It's Teddy Roosevelt's birthday, right, Anthony? That's right.
Almost.
No, it is Teddy Roosevelt's birthday. He's 167 years old today.
That's not the only birthday.
Oh,
Who else's birthday is it today, Steve?
I have to look it up on the line on the AI thing to find out.
I think you know whose birthday it is.
He's right. Fine, it's my birthday. He's right. I've joined the club. I'm finally 25. Very exciting. Anyhow, yeah. I've shared a birthday with Teddy Roosevelt my entire life. He was born a little bit before me in 1858, but yeah.
Just a little bit.
A little bit before me. He'd be 167. I'm only 165, which is good. Anyhow, thank you for the nice comments on the social media platforms. I appreciate all of you. I do. Thank you for being here. You know, if not, you guys help me every day here because sometimes I feel like we're just sitting here talking into the darkness. But then I see the responses, the replies, the follows, and I appreciate it. I do. We work really hard for you here to try to get things done. So, yes, even on my birthday, I'm here working. We actually got up early so we could catch President Trump in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We were on, 5:30 this morning, which is a little bit earlier than than we're live most days. So good to have everyone here to celebrate the birthday with me. Thank you. I appreciate it. Anthony, what'd you get me?
It's coming.
Where am I? What? No cake? No cake. I'm just kidding. I'm on a strict regimen. You know, Ivy, the enforcer in chief of all things health. You know, we're on this plan to. It's either going to kill me or save my life. It's either going to kill me or save my life. That's the way that is. Anyhow, glad to have you all here. Still to come, Bill Walton, JT Young. Ivy will be here, of course. Katie Hyde will join us a little bit later from Michigan News Source. Big stories in Michigan today we want to talk about. So thank you for being here and celebrating my birthday. Thank you. I'll be back. All right, as we dive back into it now, always trying to get you the best conversations possible, the most information, so that you are very well informed. Bill Walton is the host of The Bill Walton Show, formerly served on the action and landing teams for Donald J. Trump, 2016 on the transition team. Man, that seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? Man, it's like almost a different lifetime. Bill, welcome back to the program.
Great to be back. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much, Bill. I greatly appreciate that. Me and Teddy Roosevelt have shared this day for, well, my entire life.
I have a grandson named after Teddy Roosevelt, so it's
Yeah.
it's
See,
a good day.
you know what it proves, Bill? All progressives weren't nuts. All right.
Well, he was a pretty progressive guy.
He was in some ways, but he also believed in America, in hard work, in strengthening the military. You know, if not for Teddy Roosevelt, we never would have been prepared for World War I. As the Undersecretary of the Navy, man, he did big things. Anyhow, for a different day, I suppose. So let's talk about Trump's visit with Xi Jinping is coming up here at the end of this week. And then maybe a visit to China early 2026. And I've got word here from Scott Bessent that they've made a deal on trade. Look, I'm looking at the markets here. The markets are already on fire. It could break 48,000 today with a little boost, right? You're looking at investments. You're looking at energy policy that makes sense. And now these tariffs. And I want to say this about the farmers. I talked about this to begin with. Farmers I talked to say soybean prices today are a little bit better than they were in the fall of 24. They are glad that they're cutting the ties with China and opening up markets in Japan or for biodiesel because they don't want to be dependent on China, right? These are tough decisions, and yeah, there'll be bumps in the road, but they're important decisions, aren't they?
Well, they're absolutely important. And, you know, the thing to keep in mind is the United States, virtually every major industry in America has had deep or sometimes very deep relationships with China. I mean, NBA's got a $1.5 billion deal, and Apple makes almost all its iPhones there. So unwinding the trade with China to America's benefit is, probably one of the toughest things a president can do. And I think Trump's up to the job. But, this is the first trip in my memory, and I believe it's true, that a U.S. president has gone abroad primarily with an economic agenda. I mean, usually they go and they're talking about arms and treaties and diplomatic ties and that sort of thing. But this is expressly aimed at America first and resetting a relationship with China that works to our benefit.
Yeah, we've got to make a deal. Look, when President Trump says that we've been taken advantage of, it's true. And it's not just China, it's Canada. This guy up there is still pushing for, Mark Carney now, got to have zero emissions, net zero. He's insane. You can do that with Canada. You would kill America. I like Chris Wright, the energy secretary. You don't hear much about him, but he's quietly getting a lot of big things done that will power the future of this country. We are a net exporter. We're going to have an LNG pipeline coming out of Alaska, fueling the world with liquefied natural gas. We're going into rare earth. We're not going to be beholden to China. I mean, these are all, they don't get the attention of a ballroom at the White House, but they're much more important, aren't they?
Well, yeah.
I mean,
the thing who is not energy independent is China,
right?
And so we definitely have some cards to play there. They've tried to build a green industry, so-called, to placate the globalists, but what they're really doing is they're building coal plant after coal plant after coal plant, and so this is interesting how this will play out. What we've got to figure out, though, is this rare earth minerals problem. Unfortunately, and remember, starting with Henry Kissinger, there are an awful lot of people in the United States that have been China enablers. And that's left us in a position where, because of environmental rules and so on and so forth, we can't mine or process rare earth and other strategic minerals here in the U.S. I mean, maybe a tiny amount. And so we've got to rebuild that industry. It's probably going to take 5 years at least to get it back to some
But we're
sort of
on the
parity.
road there. I mean, we're headed there. Look, in the state of Michigan where I live, we have rare earth. Minnesota has it. Wyoming has it in spades. Alaska has it in spades. I mean, we have the resources, but you're right. It's the processing part of it that we really need to ramp up and fast.
Processing it,
yes.
Digging the stuff out of the ground and making the, processing it, and it's dirty. And it's if you're an EPA type, you don't want us doing that in America, and a lot of people have. Not in my backyard. I think that's going to change because the technology has changed radically from what it was 20, 30 years ago. And I know we can process this here. It's particularly now that we've got a lot of urgency to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have urgency. Look, that's where energy policy and rare earth policy intersect.
Yeah.
because you've got to have the energy to power the AI. That's why all this, windmills and solar panels, those are nice in a cartoon. And maybe it's nice on scale. Here at my farm, I could run the place with solar panels and a big wind turbine, right? But it doesn't scale to the point of running cities. That's where you need modular nuclear, you need coal-fired power plants, you need natural gas, you need energy, and then you also need these rare earth elements. That's where they intersect, right?
Well, wait till Mondami tries to power New York with wind and solar.
Yeah. But I laugh about it, but it's sad to me because you can't make America great again without making the cities, beautiful and safe again. And so I look at D.C. Look, there's been 15 homicides since the 11th of August. 15. It's almost 80 days with 15 homicides. There hasn't been a stretch in my lifetime or yours with that few murders in the capital of the United States. It's working. It's also working in Memphis. Why would the Democrats be opposed to making America safe again?
Well, you look at what's happened in San Francisco. Trump promised to bring Army reserves into San Francisco, and because of that, San Francisco got its act together and started doing all the things that President Trump would wanted to have done there. And so hopefully other cities will get the same message. We don't necessarily need to send troops. People just need to stop defunding the police and prosecute criminals and do those sort of basic 101 things for public safety. And, hopefully this is pushing everybody in that direction. Although with some of these big city mayors like Chicago, you just
what an
wonder
idiot.
how that's going to turn out.
Look, I thought Lori Lightweight was bad as the mayor of Chicago. And she looked like a character out of Star Wars, and so it is. But the fact of the matter is, he's worse. This guy is awful. He's destroying Chicago, and he's doing it boldly and proudly. It is strange as hell. There have been almost 4,000 people shot in Chicago this year, almost 400 murders, and they're like, everything's good in Chicago. It is? You're good with this. I'll give you the last word, Bill.
Well, and he also had J.B. Pritzker, sort of the Jabba the Hutt governor of Illinois, who's exacerbating it. I think Donald Trump's got us on the right track. And this trip to Asia, he's not only visiting China, but 6 or 7 other countries and developing closer relationships with them. We need to keep in mind, China is the economic driver in the world right now. It's certainly not Europe. And so if we do things right with Asia Pacific, I think he's doing exactly the right thing.
Yeah, we'll see what this conversation turns out. But like I said, Scott Bessent says they've got the framework of a deal in place. We'll see if that happens. It could be great guns for all of us if that happens. And it helps the whole world if China and America get along. But we cannot be dependent on the CCP. They're not to be trusted now or ever. That's a fact. Bill, appreciate you being here as always. Thank you.
Great. Good talking.
Good talking to you. All right, we'll take a break and be right back. It is the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so what will Democrats do to get power? What will they excuse? Well, a couple of big headlines right now give you a pretty good chunk of evidence. Graham Plattner in Maine running for Senate against the governor there, Janet Mills, to be the Democrat nominee. He had a giant Nazi, literal Nazi tattoo on his chest since 2007. He's known since 2012 and probably since the day he got it that it was a Nazi tattoo. I believe on the 22nd of October it became a story in the news. On the 23rd of October, he covered it up and said, oh, I had no idea. Really? And then you've got this guy, Jay Jones, over there in Virginia running for Attorney General, who said he wanted to put the bullets into the heads of Republicans. They all seem pretty nice, huh? J.T. Young is the author of Unprecedented Assault, How Big Government Unleashed America's Socialist Left, and has over 3 decades experience working in Congress, Department of Treasury, and elsewhere. So, J.T., welcome to the program. What will they excuse over there in Maine? I guess they're cool with actual Nazi tattoos. They call Republicans Nazis and fascists and all these other things. But this guy's running around with a giant, I mean, it's big, tattoo on his chest of a Nazi symbol. Oh, I didn't know what it meant. Yeah, his staff said he's known since at least 2012, and I would bet my last dollar he knew from the day that he got that thing what it meant. Okay, that's okay. Jay Jones can threaten to shoot Republicans. That's okay. Democrats don't care, do they?
No, they don't. They don't, Steve. I think it's a chase for power, and they're so afraid of losing any of their tenuous coalition that they're terrified of offending anyone within that group. So they will not say no to anything because they're just hanging on by their fingernails right now.
Yeah. So a friend of mine in Maine who broadcasts all the time, my good friend Ray over there, says that Susan Collins will win by 10 points again. And with this kind of skirmish on the left in Maine, I think that's probably true. It's bizarre because the only poll that's come out since this revelation about this guy over there, Plattner, he's still getting 30% of the vote. Does that mean that 30% of the Democrats are cool with it? Oh, he's got a Nazi tattoo. I'm cool with it. It's jaw-dropping to me.
No, you're absolutely right, Steve. And this is what we see. They circle the wagons. They lock their arms. They will not walk away from these candidates that should, by any objective standard, be immediately dismissed from any popular discourse and public forum.
Absolutely true. They're disqualifying. I mean, Jay Jones saying that he'd like to put the bullets into his government and see his children die or whatever else he said. It's unconscionable what he said. Right. And now the good news is Mieres, the current Attorney General in Virginia, has now built a pretty good lead. I think he's going to hold on to that seat, as he should. He's proven himself to be terrific in the job of AG. Your thoughts?
But the problem here is, Steve, and I don't dispute anything you just said. We have seen recent polls where Mieres is doing well and running well ahead of the rest of the ticket. The problem is that, just as you've said, Abigail Spanberger, who's running for governor here in Virginia, she won't distance herself from Jay Jones either. She will not call for him to step down. She's still holding on to her endorsement of him. And, when Glenn Youngkin, the current Republican governor, if he's turned out and we don't put in another Republican, Youngkin has vetoed over 300 bills that have come out of the Virginia state legislature. Without that safeguard, you will not have anything standing between the Abigail Spanberger, who refuses to distance herself from the people like Jay Jones, and having this legislation go into law.
And here's Barack Obama, by the way, a guy who said that America didn't vote for Kamala Harris because it was a black woman. He's in Virginia openly campaigning against a migrant black woman who became an American citizen, served in the U.S. military, is about as brilliant and bright as anybody you'll hear speak. I mean, she is so smart. And yet Barack Obama is openly campaigning against a black woman, again proving that what they tell you is hogwash.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. They will say anything. They will do anything. They will distance themselves from nothing that advances their overall goals. You just saw it this weekend with Hakeem Jeffries finally deciding that he was going to endorse Mamdani, who's running as the Democrat Socialist mayor candidate in New York and is likely to win. They're all conceding to this, and they'll all accept it. And then they're going to all try to tell us that this is normal. This is nothing out of the ordinary. This is just the same old Democrat Party that you and I both remember from our youth, which had a much more conservative element, a much more moderate element. That's gone. That's not who runs this party anymore. And all these actions you've just mentioned, the candidate in Maine, Jay Jones here in Virginia, Abigail Spanberger refusing to distance herself from Jay Jones, Hakeem Jeffries endorsing Mamdani, along with so many other Democrat leaders. They're all falling in line with their extremist base because that's who they depend on now.
Yeah, that's who they depend on for sure. It's remarkable. JT, always appreciate you being here. The book, Unprecedented Assault, How Big Government Unleashed America's Socialist Left, but we are fighting back. By the way, great news against the socialists in South America. Milei, big wins yesterday. Javier Milei expanding his control massively, which means he's going to be there. They like what he's doing, throwing out the socialists. I like what he's doing. JT, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve.
Really appreciate it. All right. There you have it. Milei wins, socialists lose, as it should be. And the same thing is happening here in America. Wherever we can get fair elections, socialists lose. They lose. I'll take a break and be right back. This is the Steve Gruber Show. right, back to it now as we celebrate this great day in American history. Right? Time for sports with Brock.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmush. There were 11 games in Week 8 of the NFL yesterday. AFC winners included Houston, Buffalo, and Indianapolis. NFC winners included Philadelphia, Tampa Bay, and Green Bay, who won the Sunday night game over Pittsburgh on the road 35-25. There were 9 games in the NBA yesterday. Winners included Detroit, Cleveland, Dallas, and the LA Clippers. 8 games in the NHL yesterday. Winners included New Jersey, Tampa Bay, San Jose, and Vancouver. In college football, LSU fired head coach Brian Kelly last night, one day after the Tigers lost to Texas A&M at home 49-25. Assistant Frank Wilson will take over on an interim basis for the rest of the season. And in NASCAR, William Byron won the Xfinity 500 at Martinsville Speedway yesterday. With the win, Byron clinches a spot in the Championship 4 in Phoenix next week. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, let me get this straight. Brian Kelly gets fired, but they owe him $50 million.
54.
Oh, I'm sorry. $54 million. Do they pay that out because it's in the contract, or do they negotiate a deal? How's that work?
They were supposedly going to negotiate how they were going to pay him off, whether it's in installments or lump sum. It won't be in a lump sum, more than likely. Yeah. It'll probably be done over a long period of time.
I guess the lucky leprechaun just didn't pan out in Baton Rouge.
Funny you say that, because Brian Kelly, of course, coached at Notre Dame.
Right, that's why I said it, yeah.
Of course.
Look, here's the thing, and I'll make this offer to any D1. I'll make it any school at all. I'll go D1 school, though. Look, I can come lose football games for a fraction of that price.
Sure.
Yeah, I come lose for a couple seasons for $5 million. I mean, hire me.
Steve, the way it is now, I mean, there's no incentive to win.
Right.
Say,
What difference does it make?
You got to pay me $50 million or whatever, and then I can stink for a couple of years, and then I get fired, and I get a huge windfall.
Yeah, and just go buy an island somewhere.
Coach.
Yeah,
Nice.
go buy an
Good
island.
occupation.
I clearly got in the wrong profession. I should have been a losing football coach. I'd have made a lot more money.
Exactly.
Anyhow, thank you, Brock. Thank you. All right, we'll take a break and be back. It is the Steve Gruber Show. always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent. Come on, man. We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Well, it sure is. I'm glad to have you along for the conversation. Thank you for being here on a beautiful Monday in October. It's just terrific. Fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day. It's what we do here. Three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, you don't have to go home, but you cannot stay unlimited at Michigan rest areas. That's a new MDOT rule. That's what it's aimed at. Number two, anti-ICE protesters descend on the lawn of a Michigan lawmaker going after her. We'll tell you what that is all about. And number three, would Donald Trump run for president again? No, he wouldn't. But would he run for vice president? No, I don't think he'd do that either. He's never going to be number two. And he shot down that speculation, telling reporters on Air Force One on his way over to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. They have great prospective candidates, and he picked the two guys that I think are the best right now, Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance. Marco Rubio has done, in my estimation, just remarkable work as the Secretary of State. He has. And I'm glad that he has, because he has delivered strong, forceful messaging from the United States. He's not the same guy we were interviewing back in 2016. I interviewed him a number of times, not just then, but I'm comparing to the time I spoke to him in 2016 running for president. Not the same guy at all. He has matured. He has strengthened. He has become a force. J.D. Vance, obviously, growing into the job as vice president. But from where I stand, Marco Rubio, probably the best choice. That's just my position now. That could change. We're 3 years plus of Donald Trump, still 1,180 days or something like that to go. So we'll look at that. Meanwhile, compare President Trump to the new prime minister in Canada, Mark Carney. Good Lord. Be glad we didn't get some progressive like this maniac in office. He is still while we are pursuing new energy policies, while we are pursuing deals with China and enforcing tariff deals, while all of this is going on, and building, yes, a new 90,000 square foot addition to the White House, which will be spectacular. I mean, I do trust Donald Trump can build a spectacular building. I'm not a big fan of all the gold, but hey, I can go with it, right? But up north, they've got Mark Carney, and he is on a mission, I think, to destroy Canada. He wants this net zero thing even today, even with all the evidence that how stupid it is. It's his goal for Canada. Listen.
Some stress, and it's great that there is that. It's not great that it happens, but it's great that there's that scrutiny and there's that skepticism or healthy skepticism about ESG labels or sustainable labels. And that, again, is one of the reasons we're having this ruthless, relentless focus on net zero, because in the end, look, we can't stabilize the climate unless we get to net zero. And it's a simple, these are hard numbers. Your emissions are either A or B. They're going up or down. And if they're going down, are they going down consistent with the science? We anchor it in the science, the same science the UN and others use for the 1.5 degree objective.
The only thing he said there that was true is that we cannot stabilize the climate. That part's true. We are not God. We are not. There's but one of those. One. And that is beyond my pay grade. The idea that somehow net zero, we're going to stabilize the climate, please. Who do these people think they are? They're just radical socialists, and they're insane, as far as I can tell. And I believe that. Now, let's move on to the question of gerrymandering. North Carolina now moving forward. They're going to redraw their congressional districts, add a seat or two for the Republicans. Indiana has not made a decision yet, but they might. The bigger decision coming from the Supreme Court will be on the challenge by Louisiana against congressional districts based on race and race alone. It's not constitutional. It's illegal. It is. The Civil Rights Act of 1965, it runs afoul to that as well. And so the congressional districts are going to change. And by the way, Arnold Schwarzenegger, not a guy who likes Donald Trump, right? Former governor of California. He says this gerrymandering idea has been caused by the Democrat. He totally blows Jake Tapper out of the water over at Chicken Noodle News. Listen to this answer.
Do you believe that the Republican Party is starting this?
No, Jake. There has been gerrymandering going on for 200 years. There is such extreme gerrymandering going on that in a state like Massachusetts, that has like 40% of the people voting for Trump, they have 0 representatives. The Republican Party has 0 representatives sent to the House. Think about that. In New Mexico, if 45% of the people voted for Trump and voted Republican, and 0 is sent to the House, 0 representative from the Republican Party. So there's gerrymandering, crazy gerrymandering going on all over the country, and we wanted to try to stop it in California, and we did stop it in California, and we went around the country. So I think this whole thing about finger pointing and saying they did it, so therefore we should doing it, that's not really the way to go. The one party should outperform the other party. It should be performance. And when it comes to midterm elections, as you know, always the party that is not in the White House usually wins by 20, 25, 30 seats. So what does 5 seats matter in the first place in Texas? It is crazy.
What does 5 seats in Texas matter anyway? It is crazy. And I did this for you before, but I'll do it for you again. Today in America, there are about 150 million Americans. New England, for example, and elsewhere, where places that vote 40% or better Republican have zero members of Congress. There's not a member of Congress that's a Republican from any state in New England, right? So when North Carolina says we're going to redraw, Missouri considering it as well, Indiana, I don't know what they're going to do there. They should do it. Any reason not to is dishonest. Look, the Democrats have gerrymandered the whole country. 150 million people with no Republican representation compared to about 55 million Americans with no Democrat representation. Okay? That's where we are. 3-1. So Democrats have gerrymandered, as the governor pointed out, for 200 years. There's been gerrymandering, 200 years. It's not like it's something new or interesting. It's something that's been here since the beginning of the Republic. Republic, not democracy. Republic. This part of the program brought to you by my good friends. I was at the Big House over the weekend. What a cool thing they did at the Big House over the weekend. All these youth football teams came in from all over the state to play in the Big House. It was great fun. My son's team played there. Beautiful. He had a couple of nice tackles and got to play some different positions. They played around with it a little bit. There was just a scrimmage, not really a actual football game. It was great. And I wore my muskox. Why? Because it's awesome this time of the year. GoMuskox.com for the very best flannel you will ever own. Double-brushed cotton, the best flannel every year since 2023 from Gear Junkie. There's no better shirt you're ever going to own. I can assure you. Muskox, an American company based in Detroit. All right, and you can save $15 with the promo code Gruber. How? GoMuskox.com. GoMuskox.com is the website. GoMuskox.com. Promo code Gruber, you're going to save $15 on a shirt that's not just a shirt, but more like a family heirloom. And if you're like me, your wife's going to steal it, and you'll have to buy another one. That's how good they are. Yeah, it's a jacket, it's a shirt, it's every day. GoMuskox.com. I'll be back. Do you want to lose 20 to 50 pounds? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. All right, back to it now. My special guest is Katie Hyde, the assistant news director or director of news or whatever. She's a big deal, is what I'm saying, at the Michigan News Source, michigannewssource.com. She is like a big deal, everybody. Katie, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. And I'm not as big of a deal as you on your birthday. So happy birthday.
Well, thank you, Katie. I greatly appreciate it. I share a birthday with a president, the 26th president of the United States, Teddy Roosevelt, born this day in 1858. He'd be 167, so he's just a couple years older than I am. So there you go. Anyhow, nice to see you today.
You too.
So I saw this. I saw these nasty notes to Angela Regas. We demand that you retract your co-sponsorship of Michigan bills, all of which will increase the terrorism by ICE agents, blah, blah, blah. You know, when did law enforcement become the enemy? Was that Barack Obama that defund the police programs all rolled out? Was it 2020? Look, I've seen what happened in D.C. They've had 15 murders since the 11th of August. It's almost Halloween. 15. Never in your lifetime or mine have there been that few murders in 80 days in the nation's capital. And they're complaining about it. Same thing in Memphis. 1,000 criminals arrested. Dozens of children that were missing have been found. Why would anybody oppose this?
That's a great question. And the other question is, when you have representatives and senators in your state that say, I have office hours, I have a telephone number to my office, I do town halls at coffee shops and bars all across the state, show up there and ask me your questions. What these anti-ICE protesters did over the weekend is they showed up to the homes of Michigan lawmakers. I talked to Representative Angela Regas from West Michigan. They showed up to her house, and also Representative Brian Postumus and State Senate Majority Leader Winnie Brink. These anti-ICE protesters showed up to their homes. And Representative Regas told me she was planning on spending a relaxing Saturday. It had been a long week, sleeping in, and she woke up to the sound of what she thought were drums, and she thought one of her children was maybe practicing as his instruments a little early that morning, and she woke up and said, oh my goodness, people are protesting me. She said these anti-ICE protesters were on her lawn. They were up on her porch. They were up in her Ring camera. There are pictures on our story of one protester giving her the middle finger.
Yeah, I got that.
They put a poster board up on her window demanding these things. It took about an hour for them to finally disband, and then the police showed up. But we have reached a different level of political discourse in this country. You do not show up to people's homes and do this.
No, and here's the thing. Here's what I don't understand. Reading your story here, Katie, at michigannewssource.com, you guys can find great stories about Michigan that affect you every single day at michigannewssource.com. Reading the story here, these protesters were there well over an hour. The police didn't show up, even though calls were made to 911. They didn't even show up. What's up with that?
Correct. That's a great question that we need answered, because in this day and age of political violence, which has escalated since September 10th, that was the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated.
Sure.
You would think that law enforcement would be more in tune to that. And in this case, it took them quite a while to get there. In addition to that, this isn't just an isolated incident. Representative Regas told me she's had 2 death threats against her since the Charlie Kirk assassination. And now this, she said that police have it on their radar, and the Capitol Sergeant at Arms, which is in charge of security of the Capitol, knows about it too. But we have reached a different level with all of this. And so when you have people coming to other people's homes, it's such a violation. That is your safe space. Everyone should be entitled to that with their homes. And
some privacy. Yeah.
Privacy and just the fact that you should be in your home and not have protesters come up on your porch and
crazy people. Crazy people.
Yeah, she said she could poke her head out the door and said, hey, please take this into the street, which she said that they did. And that her first inclination was to go out there and say, let's have a conversation. But her kid said, no, Mom, don't do this. Keep the door locked and wait for them to go away, which is what she eventually did.
Right. So I want to move on to this next story. We got about 2 minutes here. I want to get into this. Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, running for governor, says she will not turn over voter information to the United States Department of Justice. She claimed those rolls contained, quote, protected personally identifiable information like Social Security numbers and driver's license numbers. You know, like when you file your tax return with the IRS, that kind of information. And so therefore she's refusing to turn it over. This doesn't surprise me. Jocelyn Benson has run afoul of the law, refused to do her job as prescribed by law and the Constitution of the state of Michigan on a number of occasions. This is nothing new, is it?
No, it's not the first time she's ignored a request from the first that I can think of that I mentioned in the story is from the Michigan House. They've asked her and they've subpoenaed her for election training materials, and she said no. So now that's in mediation. But she said to the Department of Justice, I'm not going to turn over this private voter information. But what I don't understand, Steve, is does she know where Social Security's numbers come from? Does she know where driver's license numbers come from? It comes from the government. Our information is out there. This is not 1982 where people have an unlisted telephone number. This information is not private. And so the fact that she isn't turning it over reeks a little bit. And then also,
you think?
She comes out with this, oh, I will protect everyone's private information. But a couple of weeks after she took office for her first term in 2019, she turned over all that same information to on a federal level to get this group, I guess, this federal voter compiled information out there. So she's already turned it over. This isn't private information. Anyone can find out this information. She's just not turning it over to the Trump DOJ.
That's exactly right. I think she's going to have a rough ride trying to get the nomination to be the Democrat for governor here. Maybe I'm wrong.
Steve, I reached out to her office and I said, what are the consequences if she doesn't turn it over? And no surprise, they don't answer me, but that's the next.
Well, when she sent out mass applications for mail-in voting, that was not lawful, but there was no penalty for it. Make no mistake, they knew that. They knew she was breaking the law, but because there was no penalty for it, why not? They can't do anything about it. Anyhow, Katie Hyde, you can find Katie's work and a whole team of great reporters and investigative reporters, MichiganNewsSource.com. MichiganNewsSource.com. Katie, thank you as always.
Thank you.
There you have it. Good stuff. Yeah, Secretary of State Benson, I'm shocked. No, I'm not. We'll be back. What? I'm not sure what he meant by that. Okay, welcome back, my friends. Good to have you here. Long-term stays at the rest stop. That's not going to be permissible under a new rule put forth by the Michigan Department of Transportation. MDOT says, no, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. That's the gist of the MDOT current attempt to formalize rules that would limit camping, panhandling, and long-term stays at state facilities. The rules discussed during virtual public hearings this past week, saying the rules would make it a misdemeanor to park vehicles at the rest stops for more than 2 days, ask for money on MDOT property, live in vehicles, or sleep under overpasses. Anthony, I'm sorry about that. No more sleeping under overpasses.
Why?
I know. It just seems harsh, doesn't it? Oh, Lord. All MDOT properties, including 61 highway rest areas, 82 roadside parks, 267 carpool lots, 23 scenic turnouts, 14 welcome centers, and the list goes on. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Oh, yeah. Hey, Democrats, I have a question for you before I hit the next break here. Do you remember when Ron DeSantis sent a plane load of illegal aliens up to Martha's Vineyard. Remember that? And you saw 50 of them. Oh, we can't. One of the wealthiest places in America. Barack Obama has a multi-million-dollar mansion and spread there, right? Remember that? And how did you get rid of them? Oh, that's right. You called in the National Guard. I remember now. You called in the National Guard to kick out illegals from Martha's Vineyard, your little multi-million-dollar play heaven. Yeah, Democrats, come on. They could live in your guest house. Probably all 50 could have fit in a guest house at one of those places. But no. We're not going to allow that. Anyhow, no due process needed for that, of course. Thanks for playing. Appreciate my Democrat friends. Thanks for playing. They kicked them out with the National Guard from Martha's Vineyard. That was perfectly acceptable. You see, the more you know. The more you know. Coming up, Speaker of the House here in Michigan, Matt Hall, will join me, doing a really good job, in my estimation, with everything. We'll check that out after the break here on The Steve Gruber Show. All right, welcome back to it. My next guest has done, in my estimation, really terrific work. I don't say that lightly. In politics, I would probably be a a little impatient. I might lose my temper a bit, but this guy usually has a good disposition, a smile on his face, and he is working in a difficult environment, to say the least. He is the Speaker of the Michigan House, Matt Hall. Matt, nice to have you back on the program.
Hey, great to be on with you, Steve.
Always good to have you here, my friend. All right, so the budget is behind us. Didn't get everything you wanted, but you certainly moved the needle in the right direction. First time we've done that in a long time, and I applaud you for that. I mean, you worked hard. You worked behind the scenes. You shook hands. You made friends, or at least friends for a moment, enough to get it done. What happens between now and the end of the year?
Well, thanks for recognizing that. And, getting Gretchen Whitmer to sign on to a budget that amplifies President Trump's one big, beautiful bill with no tax on tips, overtime, Social Security, delivering a smaller budget than last year. Forcing her to cut $800 million of waste, fraud, and abuse in the budget. That was a really hard one. She did not want to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, including the 2,000 ghost employees and wasteful programs. And what we're setting up in this budget by forcing her to dedicate all that waste, fraud, and abuse that we cut to roads is next year we're looking at another cut based on our projections of over $500 million. So, we're ratcheting this budget down year after year, and we're putting it now on a trajectory to be a more efficient budget and to make better value for your tax dollars. So as we move ahead, we're looking at tackling property tax relief, and we're looking at whether we can come up with a better idea than Whitmer had at economic development.
Let me ask you about property taxes, man, because that's kind of important. It's a big topic for a lot of folks in this state right now. No Michigan property tax is an effort underway by Michigan, by a grassroots initiative. Governor DeSantis in Florida talking about doing the same thing right now, eliminating property tax. I mean, look, you're retired. You paid off your mortgage. You've gotten yourself basically debt-free, and yet you still get hit with these taxes. You never truly own your home if the government can come take it if you don't pay your property taxes. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's very interesting to see what Governor DeSantis is doing in Florida. I mean, you look at, they don't have a state income tax there. And now they're looking at eliminating property tax. So it's very, very interesting. In Michigan, as you know, I mean, we got a lot of work to do. And it's one of the issues we hear the most about from people. It used to be the income tax, but with the Biden inflation and the way Michigan's property taxes work, taxpayers got hit with 2 or 3 years in a row there where they really saw their property taxes go up. So, it'll be interesting to see if this ballot proposal makes the ballot. But there's some things in Michigan.
Well, let me just ask you, do you support it, the ballot initiative, if it makes the ballot?
Yeah, I would say no. I think look, I just sat through forcing the politicians to cut $800 million of waste, fraud, and abuse in the budget, and I saw how hard it is. I'm not sure that we should go as far as eliminating property tax in Michigan, but I do think we need to significantly reduce property tax. And that's why we're working with the House Republicans to forge consensus and put something forward that's going to eliminate some property taxes and also ensure that we don't see the increases anymore. I know another policy that Governor DeSantis recently put in place was ending this pop-up tax, where you sell your home and the next person pays a much higher tax than you did. I mean, that's one reason
that happens here. That happens everywhere. You're right.
Yep. So seniors, they're moving into a new home. They get a smaller home and their property tax is much higher.
Doesn't make sense.
Right. So we're looking at things like that, but not quite a full repeal. It's a very aggressive move, and I don't think we want to do that with this governor. We were going to want to do it with a Republican governor if we do it.
All right, we'll see what happens with that. I think the property tax should be reduced or eliminated. That's kind of where I agree with you. I don't know. We'll see if it makes the ballot first to see what kind of traction it gets. Speaking of the midterms, I just saw a remarkable number. $950 million is what is being projected to be spent on the midterm elections just in Michigan. Almost $1 billion on advertising for the governor's race, the Senate race, the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, and then, of course, all the House representatives and senators across the state. $1 billion, Matt. I know Michigan's important, but that is a jaw-dropping amount of money, isn't it?
Yeah, and the Democrats will outspend the Republicans. There's no question in
Always
my mind.
do.
Yeah, we went through that in the last election. So we have to be smart with our money. We have to target voters better than them, and we have to have a stronger message. But, this is the first time in Michigan's history where a U.S. Senate seat is open with Mike Rogers running against somebody from a very competitive Democrat field. But it's nice, with President Trump's support, Mike Rogers has cleared the Republican field, and you've got, 4 or 5 Democrat candidates just seeing who can get the furthest to the left. And we have an open governor seat. And I think we're probably the only state that has both of those open seats for governor and U.S. Senate. And that's really to the top.
Yeah, and look, if Donald Trump's going to continue with his initiatives, most of which I agree with, not all, but most of them I agree with, resetting the trade for Michigan farmers to get better deals and not have to rely on China, not getting our pharmaceuticals from China, for example, having a secure border, making sure the crime's cleaned up. In order for those things to continue, the Senate is incredibly critical. You're going to have big races in Maine, North Carolina, Michigan, all these places. So it's really important. Plus, with all the arguments going on over congressional districts, we'll see that that's going to have a big play as well. Just as important here in Michigan, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, we got some important races there. Obviously, we don't want to lose the U.S. House because then they'll just go and impeach Trump every day.
Yeah.
That's what
Waste
they're
our
going to
time.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think at the state level, we want to return the Michigan House majority. We've accomplished a lot of things with only one leg of the stool, but if we can return the House Republican majority at the state level and a Senate majority, then and a Republican governor, we can start really turning the state around.
Matt Hall, always appreciate talking to you, and I do think you've done fine work. I mean, it's a difficult environment. Like you said, one leg of the stool, and you were still able to get many of your priorities across the finish line. So congratulations to you on that and getting Governor Whitmer to play as well. We'll talk again soon, Matt. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
There you have it. Speaker Hall, Michigan's House of Representatives. Look, he threaded the needle, and he got our budget down by, like he said, a few $100 million. Good step, but it's just the first step. As far as Michigan property taxes go, we'll see if that makes it onto the ballot, and then we'll see where people come down on that as they're collecting signatures. I'm Steve Gruber. When we come back, my lovely and wonderful wife, Ivy, will be here. You don't want to miss that after the break. All right, here I am tapping out a message from one of our new trainers. You'll get to meet Russ. You probably met Russ before, anyhow. Ivy and I are on this new program because I'm going to live to be 167, like Teddy Roosevelt or something like that. Ivy, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning and happy birthday.
Thank you, Ivy. Thank you very much. I love the pink jacket. I always do.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I am not 167. I don't even feel 167. I don't feel a day over 166. So,
wow.
You know, actually, I feel pretty good. And Russ, I was just chatting. He was asking about our workout schedule and this and that. And I said we changed a little bit because we were lifting weights Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That was too much, so we broke it up so we have a little bit of time in between. Anyhow, you feel good about it, don't you?
I do, yeah. You know, it's always important to take care of your mind and your body. Part of taking care of your mind is taking care of your body.
I don't have any choice, by the way, but to take care of my body because, you know, I get vitamins shoved into and I get, you know, eat this and have you drank enough water? Yeah, I get all that every day.
Oh.
It's relentless.
I mean, would you have it any other way?
No, I wouldn't. Honestly, I wouldn't. And I really do love, I talked about this earlier, our new vitamin company. I love this product so much. Victory Nutrition International, for those of you wondering. The vitamins are just fabulous.
They are great. And, you know, I just always recommend, the food isn't as nutritious as it used to be. 1, 2, people don't generally eat enough vegetables in their diet. And everyone just, it seems like the world is on fast forward. And so if you're not food prepping and things like that, you're generally probably not eating very well. So it's always good to have good supplements to help.
Well, you know, the
maintain
first
those
place to start is get rid of, and you know, we've been talking about this for a while, and we were talking about it before we heard Bobby Kennedy talking about it. That is, you know, focus on what you're putting in your body. Don't put pre-processed garbage that's filled with God only knows what and petrochemicals and this and that and glyphosate and different things. Get that stuff out of there.
Yeah.
We prep cook on Sundays almost every week. We try to, so therefore our week is laid out in front of us. And it's important to us. Because then you know what you're eating. You got your...
Well, not only us, but our kids, too. They eat so much better because they're taking healthy lunch versus, you know, packing a sandwich or something like that.
The 13-year-old, last Thursday, I was remarkable. Last Thursday, what did he get for lunch? Lamb chops, the lollipop lamb chops. I'm like, you know how many times I had lollipop lamb chops as a kid growing up? 0.
Listen, they were in the fridge. They were there for 2 days. No one had eaten them yet. And he's like,
a whole 2 days.
Can I have some of that? I'm like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
And then
Can you imagine?
The hilarious thing was I put the bones back in because I cut the meat off. You know,
she did.
And I'm like, because I love that fat part. I'll heat up that bone and just gnaw on it, and because it's delicious.
Yeah.
And then you're like, where's the rest of it?
And
so you had one left.
There's a bag of bones. I'm like, who did this?
It was funny because there was one left. You're like, snack, one lamb chop. Like, oh, I'm sorry, honey.
Yeah, man, the kids in the lunchroom are eating, you know, their peanut butter and jelly or whatever they got. I'm having lamb chops and wild rice for lunch. I'm like, really?
Yeah, good for him.
The $50 lunch, you know, if you went to a restaurant, lamb chops.
I feel so bad for the kids. Sometimes he tells me, you know, just generally what the kids are eating, and mostly they actually eat pretty good. But
I think they eat better today than they did 5 or 8 years ago. I think people have become. I think
a bit
people
more conscientious.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
And so the Make America Healthy Again, I think it's a great movement. You and I are focused on it. You are focused on it a lot.
Well, even before it was Make America Healthy Again, I was
That's right.
always like, let's make our household healthy again.
We have ways to make you healthy. You will eat your vitamins and you'll shut up. Thank you, Ivy.
This is the voice that you hear in your head when I like give you vitamins.
We have ways, Mr. Gruber.
No, it's what this is like the voice he makes up in his head anytime I tell him to do something. And there's like this really bright light and he's like shining on the vitamins. And then he walks away from it.
There, Steve.
What's that, Brock?
Sounded very German, the accent.
We have ways to make you eat your vitamins, Herr Gruber.
Maybe Romanian.
Anyhow, it works. And look, now that I've turned 25, I think it's great. No, I mean, honestly, what good is it if you end up being, once you make 65 in America, your chance of becoming 80 is almost for sure. I mean, the numbers reflect if you live to be 65, the chance of becoming living in your 80s is very, very good. I don't want to be 80 and you know be hunched over, crippled up, or whatever. I want to be able to still go out and fly fish and hike a hill, maybe not as big a mountain as before, but still get out there and be active and do these things. I see people do it all the time that are in their 80s, right? You and I both. You know, our buddy there at the gym, he's like 85. He's on the treadmill, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, Lyle, go get him. You know, he's great.
He's great.
Yeah, so that's what I want to be.
Well,
So
you know, I had a mentor in my early 20s, and he had started as a dishwasher in a company and rose up to be CEO.
Yeah.
And he
of a big company.
His biggest regret in life was that he didn't give himself 20 minutes a day to exercise. He had everything that you could ever imagine that you would want in life. You know, wealth and multiple
Homes and wealth and
cars
success
and everything,
and
all that
all that.
sort of stuff. But his biggest regret was that he didn't work out 20 minutes a day because he didn't have the best cardiovascular health. He didn't have the best heart health. And it really limited what he could do in life. And that's really unfortunate. You know, we always are thinking about, you know, today and the next 10 years, and you're bulletproof in your 20s, and you're bulletproof in your 30s, and then you might start thinking about it in your 40s. But it's so important even.
My father used to say, now my dad died in an accidental fall, so that kind of was a bad deal. But his health, you know, you go back, you look at the autopsy, everything was great. Lungs were great, liver was great, everything was great. And he was very healthy, and he could walk because he was a bird hunter. He could walk like nobody's business. He used to say to me, you never want to be a cardiac cripple, as he called it, which is basically your heart's screwed, so you're out of breath. You don't want to be that person. And I agree with him. So that's why I have a cardiologist. Thanks, Ivy. I don't have any heart problems, but I've got a cardiologist. I've given 27 gallons of blood in the last year alone.
Well, if you look at the blue zones, you know, around the world, what do they have in common? They're all active. They have a good community of people that they're around, family and friends.
True.
And
faith. Don't forget the faith in that equation, because that is so important.
100%.
You know, a relationship with God is incredibly important in longevity.
Faith, family, friends, community, active lifestyle. And one of the biggest things that they have in common is that they have a very small amount of processed foods available in their diet.
So, Ivy, I would just say thank you for everything, and I mean that. Love you.
I love you too.
All right, we'll take a break. Take care of yourselves,
we're out of time.
folks.
I didn't get to sing you happy birthday.
Oh, well, maybe we can do it after the break. I'll be right back.
I love you.
You know, in fairness, I sit here, and we work all the time anyhow, but I sit here thinking, okay, it's my birthday, and I think I'm really pretty blessed. I'm not going to kid you. I'm pretty blessed. We have a great family. We have a great circle of friends. We got great employees. And I love what we do. It's a challenge every day, and, you know, you get, pushback, and you get nasty comments from people here and there. That's okay. I'm an American, thank God. And I was about 7 years old when I realized how blessed I was to be an American. I was in my mother's house, and I had this epiphany, I guess, of being an American. And I think it's a privilege, an absolute privilege to be an American. And that's why we fight for it so hard every day. I am blessed. My family's blessed. But there are so many in this country that need more, that need the opportunity, that need to know what this country's about, why it was founded, why we're here, why we fight and strive for freedom of speech and freedom to practice religion, to worship God the way I see fit without interference from government agencies. I don't want to see my church attacked by the government saying, oh, we want to make you a tax-paying entity. I don't want to see any of that happen. Things that people on the fringe left push for. Silence people because you don't like what they say. No, that's not who we are. I'm blessed to be an American, and I'm blessed to be able to fight for America here. So even on my birthday, I'm blessed to sit here and say, look, this country's worth fighting for, because it's about not just my future. My time is whatever it is, but for my kids, someday grandkids, talking to my daughter, of course, and someday grandkids, I want them to have the same opportunities, the ability to stand up, to speak their mind, to worship Jesus, to do those things that we do, right? I just want them to have the same blessings that I had, and that's why we fight so hard, and that's why I'm here, even on my birthday. God bless America. Fight the good fight. Keep the faith, my friends. Like I said, God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is The Steve Gruber Show. And remember, together we can save this country. Work harder. Be better. We'll talk soon.